Good morning. My name is Adam Gill. My pronouns are he, him, and it is my honor to serve on your board of trustees. It is also my pleasure to welcome you here this morning. Before we start, one announcement. Someone found a wallet outside, so if you are missing something, please see Reverend Roger or Val Ridenauer. If you are here for the first time, thank you for joining us, and we look forward to getting to know you. We invite everyone present in the sanctuary to join us today for our in-person community time immediately following the service. And each week, we like to remind ourselves of our congregation's core values: connection, transformation, justice, and acceptance. Our mission is to embody these core values in our daily lives by welcoming all, inspiring compassion, nurturing wonder, and serving community. Alice O'Cray has an announcement this morning.
Good morning. The auction events for me have been an extension of our congregational home. I met most of my current friends at auction dinners over the past 13 years. These dinners, tours, art displays, pickleball lessons, private concerts give us the opportunity to see fellow members in different environments. Our Unity Temple members share their extraordinary talents with us in small groups and settings. What a gift. So, if you haven't as yet signed up, try taking individual virtual Spanish lessons for 5 weeks with me, just for fun. Or one enjoyable Pilates class with Jackie Covarrubias, and end the session with a slice of homemade pie and latte. Give it a go. Pick an event of which you know very little or absolutely nothing about and enjoy the ride. I promise that you'll discover an adventure that is magical. I'm really happy to be at Unity Temple today. I love being part of this beloved congregation, and although I now live 808 miles away, my heart will always remain here. Thank you.
We are so glad that you could be with us today. And now I invite you to take a moment to greet one another, both online and here in the sanctuary.
Good morning. Thanks, Adam. Thank you. Hi. And hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Our chalice lighters today are a team. It's the Blue Brothers and they're humans. Please join with me in the words of our chalice lighting. We are Unitarian Universalists. This is the church of the open minds, the loving hearts, and the helping hands. We take care of the planet Earth and each other.
One more step, we will take one more step, till we are in peace for everyone. We'll take one more step.
The opening words today are from Betts Weineke. May the flame we just kindled, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our will, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within us and around us. I'm Reverend Roger, and my pronouns are he, him. I invite everyone here and at home now to join in singing our opening song, number 95, There's More Love Somewhere. I invite you to rise in body or in spirit.
There is more love somewhere. There is more love somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more love somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. There is more hope somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more hope somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. There is more peace somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more peace somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. There is more joy somewhere. I'm gonna keep on till I find it. There is more joy
Please join me in the words of our covenant. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To get together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve humanity in fellowship, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus we do covenant with each other and with God.
Good morning. My name is Diana Coates, and I'm part of our spiritual care team. Love is the doctrine of this congregation, and sharing these joys and sorrows of our lives with each other is one of the ways we embody love in the congregation. Those attending in person may share your joys and sorrows in the binder just outside the doors to the sanctuary. You can also email your joys and sorrows to us at spiritualcare@unitytemple.org. If you would like to talk with somebody about what's on your heart, please feel welcome to contact one of the spiritual care team. We have Blue Hearts. We are here to listen and sit with you in times of both joy and sorrows. Here are the joys and sorrows of this week. The flowers today are given in thanks for Jane Coleman, who for many years has made sure that flowers grace our table. So that's from Judy and Terry Grace. Thank you, Jane. And Carol Summers has recently had surgery, and so she hasn't been able to come. She would love for us to think of her, send her good thoughts and prayers in her healing. She's had complications. On joyful is Catherine Bendowski, and she's feeling gratitude for 20 years of being a member of this congregation. Best decision she ever made, she says. And so we know that some are holding joys and sorrows in silence. We invite anyone who has a joy or a sorrow to come forward to drop a stone in the bowl at one of our 4 stations we have around the room. We invite you to engage in the spiritual practice of silence as we do this shared ritual. After the prayer, we will sing Spirit of Life once as a benediction. Let's begin.
These words are from the Reverend Lynn Cox. Let us unite our hearts and minds in the spirit of prayer and meditation. Spirit of life and love, known by many names and yet fully known by none, we give thanks for this time and this place of renewal. We give thanks for the ability to begin again after the disaster, after the tragedy, after the loss, after meeting the challenge set before us. Grant us the courage to continue on the journey, the courage to speak up for the well-being of others and ourselves and the planet. May we forgive each other when our courage falls short, and may we try again. Grant us hearts to love boldly, to embody our faith and our values in living words and deeds. May our hearts open to embrace humility, grace, and reconciliation. Grant us the ability to learn and grow, to let the spirit of love and truth work its transformation upon us and within us. Grant us the spirit of hospitality, the willingness to sustain a fit dwelling place for the holy that resides in all being. Grant us a sense of being at peace in the world, even as we are in motion. Let us cultivate together the strength to welcome every kind of gift and all manner of ways to be on the journey together. To this we add the silent prayers of our hearts. Amen. Blessed be. If you are someone who likes to come close when you're listening to a story, you know what to do. I have a story today. It's called Maybe Something Beautiful, How Art Transformed a Neighborhood. It's by Isabel Campoy and Teresa Howell. And this is a true story. I know you don't always believe me when I tell you it's a true story, but this one really is a true story. In the heart of a gray city, there lived a girl who loved to doodle, draw, color, and paint. Every time she saw a blank piece of paper, Mira thought to herself, maybe. And because of this, her room was filled with color and her heart was filled with joy. On her way to school one day, Mira gave a round apple to Mr. Henry, the owner of the shop down the street. She gave a flower to Ms. Lopez, the lady with the sparkling eyes. She gave a songbird to Mr. Sachs and a red heart to the police officer who walked up and down the streets. On her way home, Mira taped a glowing sun onto the wall, hiding in the shadows. Her city was less gray, but not much. The next day, Mira saw a man with a pocket full of paintbrushes. He gazed at the wall. He looked at her son. He held his fingers up in a square and peered through them. He said thoughtfully. What do you see? Mara asked. Maybe something beautiful, the man replied. Then, just like that, he dipped a brush in the paint. Bam! Pow! The shadows scurried away. Sky blue cut through the gloom. The man's laughter was like a rainbow spreading across the sky. Who are you? Mira asked. I'm an artist, he said, a muralist. I paint on walls. I'm an artist too, she told him. He handed Mira a brush. Then come on! Mira dipped it in the loudest color she saw. Yow-wee! The wall lit up like sunshine. As the man drew pictures on the bricks, Mira added color, punch, and pizzazz. Soon, Mr. Sachs joined in. Then came others. Everyone painted to the rhythm. Salsa, merengue, bebop. Look at that, they're dancing and painting. Even Mira's name painted and danced the cha-cha-cha. The whole neighborhood became a giant block party until the police officer walked up. Excuse me, he said. The music stopped. Mira put her brush down. They were surely in trouble. The officer cleared his throat and then paused. May I paint with you? He asked. So Mira handed him a paintbrush and the music started again. Teachers and papas jumped in, babies too. Mira and the man handed out brush after brush. Color spread throughout the streets. So did joy. Wherever Mira and the men went, art followed like the string of a kite. After they colored the walls, they painted utility boxes and benches. They decorated sidewalks with poetry and shine, and everyone danced. Together, they created something more beautiful than they had ever imagined. When their clothes were splattered with a million colors, everyone sat down to rest except the muralist. His eyes sparkled. You, my friends, are all artists, he told them. The world is your canvas. He smiled wide, then pulled everything together in big sweeping motions. His paintbrush was like a magic wand. When he was finished, Mira added one more bird way up in the sky. Maybe, she thought, just maybe. The end. There's a whole story back here about the true story. This happened in San Diego, California.
Each week, Unity Temple splits the offering evenly. One half supports the program and mission of the congregation. And this week, again, the other half will go to the West Suburban Migrant Resettlement Fund. According to the leaders of this organization, the most urgent need right now is funds to provide rent for migrant families. The Village of Oak Park grant for this is restricted in that it cannot be used to pay rent beyond June of 2024, that's 3 months from now. It also restricts the grant from being used for migrants living in churches in Oak Park. For example, it cannot be used to help the 25 men being housed at Grace Episcopal Church or the families at Euclid United Methodist. So this half of today's offering will directly meet this need. May we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts. The reading today is a short piece from an interview with Padre Tuma, who I am just loving, on being with Krista Tippett. So Tuma says, agreement has rarely been the mandate for people who love each other. Maybe on some things, but when you look at some people who are lovers and friends, you go, actually, they might disagree really deeply on things, and they're somehow, I like to say the phrase, the argument of being alive. They're alive. Or in Irish, when you talk about trust, there's a beautiful phrase from West Kerry where you say, you are the place where I stand on the day when my feet are sore. You are the place where I stand on the day when my feet are sore. That is soft and kind language, but it is so robust. That is what we can have with each other. I spent some time a week ago virtually with a group of leaders from the UU Church in Charleston, South Carolina. That is a church that I've been to once, and it is an exquisite, beautiful building from the early 1800s. Looks like it could be an English cathedrals or chapel with a vaulted ceiling. It's a complicated building. Enslaved labor built it. It's in an area that will soon be most likely overcome by water with climate change. Anyway, I asked them, as I often do with groups of people, what do you love most about this congregation? And as is always the case, the answer, the majority answer, overwhelmingly was some variation of community. I've asked that here, and the same thing happens. Even here, even with this remarkable, incredible space that is so central to the identity of this congregation, even here where many of you I know first came here because of the building, even here, most of you will say some variation of community when I ask one thing you love most about this place. So this is such a good and a beautiful thing. Buildings come and go for various reasons. The predecessor to this church burned down. The predecessor to the church I grew up in burned down. The church I've attended in college burned down. Not that I'm hoping for that here. Less tangibly, though, and thankfully with much less finality, this building went away and came back twice in the last decade. You have spent close to half of the last decade not being here. First, when you went to the Lutheran Church for several years while this was renovated, and then again during the pandemic. Nevertheless, you persisted. At the core of Unity Temple UU congregation is the community. The centrality of community makes sense given our American UU theology. We don't have this common belief in God or whatever sort of name we want to use for that. We don't have a creed. We are pluralistic in terms of our belief, I hope increasingly in the years ahead, in other ways such as class and race. We come together in a spiritual community like this to explore our beliefs together, to be inspired and to wonder together, to figure out how we might speak and act in this world that is in so much pain, and to support one another, to be there in those times when our feet are sore. Given the centrality of community for us, it makes sense then that we spend some time and attention in thinking about how we interact with each other within this community. So I'm going to do that this morning. I want to say, though, that I'm not talking today just about this community. I think a lot of what I say is easily translatable into other communities we're part of, in a school community or a workplace community or a neighborhood, or yes, even a family. How can we build strong communities? Well, over the centuries, Unitarian Universalists have found the idea of covenant to be helpful. Covenant can help UU congregations develop the depth and the breadth and the health to fulfill their missions. And so in our UU context, covenant is a sacred agreement we make with one another. Unlike its Jewish and Christian roots, a UU covenant is not between God and us. It's between us. It is horizontal rather than vertical. By calling it sacred, I mean to say we put some thought into this, some heart, some intention. It's important. It matters. We don't take it lightly. So in the past few decades, many UU congregations, including this one, have adopted a relational covenant. The congregation I served for many years in Wisconsin adopted such a covenant in 2003, and it was a big reason that in the decade or 12 years after that, the congregation nearly tripled. A relational covenant helps us name together how we aspire to interact with each other. And so the key word in this is aspire. It gives us permission, that word, to be human. Humans are not perfect. Humans make mistakes. Sometimes, despite our best intentions, we screw up. A relational covenant helps us bring our best selves to community, and it helps us come back into covenantal relationship when we make a mistake. So Reverend Emily and I have been working over these past months with the CHART team. That's the Congregational Health and Reconciliation team. We've been working to widen that team's focus from focusing on problematic words and actions to a more holistic wellness kind of approach to the health and well-being of this system. So we just completed an extensive online training program together, and a lot of that training centers on covenant. I want to share today about one piece of that training that really caught our attention. Now this piece, for me anyway, light bulbs went on. This piece presents two different competing understandings of covenant. One understanding is focused on limiting. The other is focused on liberating. Limiting versus liberating. Limiting covenants are primarily meant to control behavior. Often they have the goal of keeping things comfortable and familiar, comfortable especially for the people with power. Another goal of limiting covenants is to prevent or control conflict. They often have a sort of punishment orientation. Other characteristics of limiting covenants include literalism and legalistic language, perfectionism, and either-or thinking. The goal of liberating covenants, on the other hand, is to help a community move toward beloved community. So we say beloved community here a lot. It's a beautiful phrase that Martin Luther King lifted up. I want to talk about what we mean by that. I had a colleague on the staff at First Unitarian Society in Madison, Brittany Crawford, who had just a fabulous definition for beloved community. And part of their definition actually made beloved community a verb, not a noun. So their definition is this: beloved community happens when people of diverse racial, ethnic, educational, class, gender, and sexual orientation backgrounds and identities enter into an interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care. An interdependent relationship of love, mutual respect, and care. And importantly, my colleague in Madison added on a thought from Bell Hooks. The beloved community does not remove differences, it removes privilege. Beloved community is not about erasing differences between people and replacing those with a kind of enforced monochromatic unity. Rather than quashing disagreement and conflict, a community with a liberating covenant strives to create conditions for engaging with conflict that are creative, that are constructive, that are loving. So beloved community isn't about agreeing with each other about everything. It's about loving each other and loving the shared mission that we have together, even when we disagree. Liberating covenant is also characterized by emphasizing spirit over the letter and making space for both and thinking instead of either or. There is room for mistakes and learning lessons that help us do better next time. Liberating covenant cultivates the soil and soul of a congregation so that individual and collective transformation is possible. And it feels important to me to say that liberating covenant still will have some boundaries in it, some limits, but these limits have a spirit of welcoming creative differences, a dedication to the good of the whole, and a lack of rigidity and blanket condemnation of those who fall short of the shared agreement. A community cannot thrive if there are no limits around words and behavior that are chronically destructive, but the process of helping someone come back into creative and positive relational covenant will be characterized as much as possible by caring and compassion, both and thinking reconciliation and restoring relationships. Well, when this congregation adopted its relational covenant last spring, I understand that there was a sense in the room that this was not a once and for all time expression, but that it could be and should be amended over time. This makes sense to me because covenants need to be living, breathing, changing documents. So our chart team is beginning the process of reviewing and likely proposing some changes to the covenant. As was true last time, everyone in the congregation will have an opportunity to give input into this process. And the chart team is going to be guided in its work by wondering together how this relational covenant might be even more characterized by liberation than limitation. Well, all of this brings me to trust. Trust is maybe the key to a thriving community of people, whether that's a family or a congregation or a workplace or a neighborhood. No community can thrive in the absence of trust. And I'm not talking about trust with no accountability. We all need to be accountable for our actions and our words. That is open to rethinking and finding a different way when our words or actions fall short of who we want to be and how we want to be. But there needs to be some basic trust in one another, striving to do the best we can and to be our best selves. Inspired by Octavia Butler's explorations of human community and change, Adrienne Mary Brown wrote a book called Emergent Strategy, Shaping Change, Changing Worlds. This book delves into how small changes in complex systems can change individuals, change groups of people, even change the world. And one of Adrienne Mary Brown's maxims is that change moves best at the speed of trust. Change moves best at the speed of trust. And if you don't have that happen, change often falls apart. So this congregation is in a season of change, and I hope transformation, after a rough patch. To work, this change and transformation needs to go at the speed of trust. Developmental ministry, which is why I'm here, is intended to slow things down so there's time to develop trust. Developing trust, slowing things down, I feel like that's been my main focus in this first year here. Well, friends, to make a relational covenant real, we need to practice it. And so I want to take one little piece of the relational covenant here where it talks about aspiring to resolve misunderstandings by using open and respectful conversation. So here's a concrete way to practice this, and a way that I've seen actually work in other congregations that I've served. Here it is. When we are bothered or concerned about something that someone else did or said, or some group did or said, that is an invitation to seek an open and respectful conversation. Rather than going into attack mode in an email or a letter or just launching in at somebody, we can invite the person into a mutual give and take conversation. And we can bring with us into that an openness, a curiosity, rather than assumptions and attacks at the other person. This practice to me is just a marvelous way to resolve and actually even avoid misunderstandings. I commend this practice to you. It's a small change that can have a really big impact. So this work we're doing together to build a strong, healthy, vibrant community, this work is not trivial. It's not inconsequential. It is essential to this congregation truly becoming a vehicle of transformation for the people here and for the people beyond the walls. And this work takes time. I have a visual symbol for this slow, important, transformative work. It is a living root bridge, which I saw several years ago. This is a photo I took at this remarkable site, also incidentally a UNESCO World Heritage Site. After a long hike down a river canyon in this lush, temperate rainforest in Meghalaya, the northeast Indian state where all but one Unitarian congregations in India is located. So the root bridges in Meghalaya are made with roots from rubber trees. In this case, one from each side. Here's a photo of me on the lower deck of the root bridge. And here's a close-up of the logs and the sticks and the stones that are held by the roots. These bridges take a very long time to create. The people who start them often are not around to actually walk across them. If my memory serves, this particular bridge was started around the time this congregation started in 1871. And living root bridges are extraordinarily strong and harmonious with their surroundings so that they can withstand ferocious floods. When the snowpacks in the Himalayas melts, much of it goes through this valley, ultimately into Bangladesh. And this bridge can stand it. Many of these root bridges last for 500 years. So when I say that Unity Temple is changing at the speed of trust, I picture this living root bridge. Like a living root bridge, this change takes time, and like this root bridge, it is strong, it is organic, it is beautiful change. Together, we are building a community where we can say to one another, "You are the place I stand on the day my feet are sore. You are the place I stand when a loved one dies. You are the place I stand when I lose my job. You are the place I stand when I can't make sense of things. You are the place I stand when I have joys that I yearn to share. You are the place I stand. You are my diverse people." That's what we're saying. "And I am yours." Our closing hymn today is number 34, "Though I May Speak with Bravest Fire." In the larger hymnal, I invite you to rise in body or in spirit and join in singing. Words from Jan Phillips. We are attendants at the wake of the old way, and each of us, through our actions, our thoughts, our work and relationships, is midwifing a new world. And when we come to our days with this awareness, when we are fully awake to this tremendous privilege, when we sense the oak in the acorn of our beings, then we will have the energy to move mountains and shift the tides. I invite you to join in the chalice extinguishing words. Carry the flame of peace and love until we meet again.